What the Human Seeks. Semyasa Silver Star Center. 16th August 2005, 23:45. Billy. The human seeks, but for what does he seek? He seeks for the truth, for the true life and the meaning of life. However, he does it in an impetuous rush as well as in carelessness, and is always eager, in each and everything that he comes across, to indulge in and believe, be this political, religious, sectarian, philosophical, or ideological in other ways. At the same time, the human does not concern himself with reality, the truth and true love, humanness, and all what pertains to the true life. The human seeking is also like an enormous boom throughout the world, even though the human does not know what he actually seeks as the true life and as the meaning of life, and also can imagine nothing by that. And it is exactly this that leads to the appearance of countless false prophets, gurus, masters, enlightened ones and lofty ones, as well as book authors and those who offer seminars, and with their horrendous nonsense, with their false teachings and deceitfulness, they have an easy job of binding their believers to themselves in order to financially exploit them, to abuse them, and to make them dependent. More and more, storm tides of books pour crazy subject matter of religious, sectarian, esoteric, philosophical and political form, etc., onto the humans who seek the life and the meaning of life, who greedily reach for these nonsensical books and are only too willingly led astray. To the humans, it is only important that they give themselves up to any false teachings and can believe in them without questioning everything and without letting reason and understanding prevail. Even scholars believe in the insanity of these false teachings, and not rarely do they delve, till consciousness-related exhaustion or even till psychological collapse, into old writings, in order to research and to ponder, until they become half crazy. False prophets of all kinds make the Vada fearful in the way that they preach the end of the world, warn of God's wrath, and promise paradise to the believers. The fire of warnings and promises ignites around the world. Like a fever-filled plague, false prophets, esoteric ones, sectarians, enlightened ones, gurus, lofty ones and sages, as well as those allegedly in contact with extraterrestrials, as well as channelers, clairvoyants and other mediums, etc., want to spread divine messages. And as a matter of fact, the terrestrial human psyche is thereby ransacked and hellishly strained. Thus, nothing refreshing and nothing invigorating is to be found in it anymore. The whole sectarianism relating to this scorches, saps and sucks the human's last strength, through which he perhaps could still come to understanding and reason, in order to turn away from the whole nonsense towards the real truth of the teaching of life and the teaching of the Spirit, in order to evolve in the consciousness. But the human has, through his belief in the false prophets, esoteric ones, gurus, sectarians, mediums and other enlightened ones and lofty ones, already immersed in the morass of untruth, swindle, lies and deception in such a way that he can only free himself from that with extreme effort. Actually, he is already so inwardly torn in this gloominess that he can only hardly recognize the presence of the effective truth and the creational laws. However, the human seeks and here and there finds the path to the reality of the truth despite all evils of one and another. The human seeks, and here and there floats a soft whisper, a faint whisper of growing anticipation of something that corresponds really more to the truth than to any empty gibberish. If the human is ready, then he anticipates the arrival of that which makes every nerve within him become fidgety, and unconsciously brings his yearning for the effective truth, for knowledge and wisdom, as well as for true life and harmony, to its peak. In the human, it begins to seethe and surge, while within him, however, are still doubts that rampage, gloomily brooding, numbing and calamitous, in the thoughts and feelings as a result of the fear of having to endure punishment if the old and nonsensical things are discarded. This is the moment in which it is important that the path of reality is courageously followed and the truth is acknowledged. Otherwise it brings forth confusion, faint-heartedness and disaster if the dark, thick veil is not torn once and for all with full strength. If strength and courage are not summoned up, then the thoughts and feelings are again pulled down with powerful tenacity into the filthy morass in which all efforts for soaring thoughts of illumination are nipped in the bud. Therewith, a frightening silence with respect to the effective truth then sets in because all well-wishing is suppressed, stifled, undermined and destroyed in the swampy morass, whereby a possibility to once again find the path to freedom hardly exists any more. The chance for this is vanishingly small in such a way that it can hardly be grasped any more and be useful again if the situation is not changed for the better again through a tremendous influence of one's own. If this does not happen, then the cry of longing and seeking for light and truth, love, knowledge and wisdom is diverted and goes unheard in the all-consuming morass, which is deliberately created by all those false prophets, saviors, gurus, esoteric ones, masters, sectarians, enlightened ones and lofty ones, as well as by misleading false assertions of uncomprehending and wrongly interpreted spiritual sciences, and they pretend to help, to bring the truth and salvation, but, in truth, teach horrendous nonsense. Their teaching material is false, wrong, dishonest, hypocritical, irresponsible, misleading and unreal. They do not teach the truth but rather lies. Their words are hollow and their desire is only power and profit, a life like a king as well as an arrogance, virtueless and without honor and dignity, because they do not bring love, harmony, peace and freedom to the seeking human but rather misery, distress and fear. As false prophets and saviors, etc., they know neither the laws and directives of creation nor the truth in regard to the teaching of life, the teaching of the spirit and the meaning of life, which leads to them robbing the human of the water necessary for life. The false saviors and prophets fatigue the consciousness of the human through their nonsense, their wrong and false teachings, as well as through their deceit and their lies, instead of enlivening this through truth, true knowledge, wisdom and love. Actual truth refreshes the consciousness directly because it invigorates and enlivens. The human who seeks simply the truth, knowledge and wisdom, love, harmony and inner freedom as well as inner peace is shocked by the untruth and pseudo-explanations. This shock is, on the one hand, the fear created by the false teachings and assertions, and, on the other hand, due to complete incomprehension, the misinterpretation, inevitably connected therewith, of the real truth, which absolutely diverges from the lies of the false prophets and saviors. Thus, also, in regard to the beyond, a wall is put up for the human by the false teachings and the related false spiritual sciences, that cannot be broken through and that allows no glimpse into the reality of the death life. And on the other hand, who among the humans who really seek the truth should understand the confused talk and all the strange words of the so-called scholars, who put their explanations that are truly insufficient and, as a rule, completely contrary to the truth and to complicated sentences and incomprehensible modes of expression? Here it is really questionable whether the concerns about the beyond and all that pertains to it should be valid only for these false teachers and spiritual scientists. And in relation to this, countless nonsensical books are written, in which are written a lot of empty phrases or fantasies that have nothing to do with reality in the slightest. Concerning this, see Billy's work, Reincarnation, Life, Dying, Death and Mourning, Aquarian Age Publishing House Figu. The false prophets, saviors, spiritual scientists, esoteric ones and all who are linked with religions and to sectarianism as well as with philosophies all speak of God, and, at the same time, Their intelligence is not so far developed that they could recognize that the creational is not a God but rather alone the impersonifiable universal consciousness and is just simply named creation.